I'm Matt Bubala here with Andrea Darlas, and joining us on the phone right now is Julie Bauke. She's the president and chief career strategist at the Bauke Group. Hey, Julie, how are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for being with us. So we're coming up towards the end of the year, and there's a lot of thought in the air about work. You know, a lot of times as we get into this fourth quarter, a lot of businesses start laying people off. People might be thinking about where their life is at and what they want to do. And there's also the whole idea of working from home, working in a business. I keep hearing about more and more places who are trying to force people to come back into work. So let's start with this. How often should we be reassessing our career? If we're going along in a business, should we be waiting till something changes, or should we be actively thinking about, am I happy here? Do I want to stay here? Do I want to start thinking about if it's time to move on?
You know, throughout my career, it was a question I constantly asked myself. But I also know people who put their head down, never ask themselves the hard questions, and their whole attitude is, it's work, it's not supposed to be enjoyable, which I vehemently disagree with. So I think it's very worth checking in with yourself once a quarter, every 6 months, to say, what do I like about where I am and what I'm doing? What do I not like? What would I change if I could? And, you know, am I happy with the trajectory my career and job is on at this moment? The problem is, even if we do ask ourselves those questions, too many people say, yeah, nope, unhappy, nope, don't like it, don't know what to do about it, and they put their head down and hope that the career fairy comes and changes the situation for them, which never happens.
Well, the old adage is the worst time to look for a job is when you need a job, right? So we should be actively thinking about that. And does that mean keeping our resume up to date, being on LinkedIn? What are the active steps you would recommend taking, even if you're somewhat happy right now, but just to make sure you're thinking about and truly assessing whether or not you are? You mentioned too many people just say, no, I'm fine where I'm at. You think we should be a little more harsh on that, a little more critical of whether we're really happy?
Yeah. So, there's a bunch of factors that go into this, but one of the biggest changes we've seen in the last, I'm going to say 10, 15 years, is that you used to have to actively go search for a job. But with LinkedIn, if you have an active and up-to-date LinkedIn profile, you are always findable. And so that's one of the biggest things that has changed is that you can always actively be looking, even though you're not looking, by having an up-to-date LinkedIn profile where you can be found. You used to have to go mail out resumes. And so the world has changed significantly, and LinkedIn is a major part of that. And so I say you should always have an up-to-date LinkedIn profile with your picture, with a robust summary of your work history, and so that anybody who's looking for somebody with your skills can find you. You should always be open to a better opportunity. This whole idea that there ever existed anything called loyalty on either side is ridiculous. A company can't be loyal to you, but we fool ourselves into thinking that we're set because we do a decent job and we like our coworkers. But as I say to virtually everyone, your company wants you until the day they don't. And I believe you as an individual have an obligation to yourself and your family and your career to act accordingly. If it's still working for you to be where you are and you feel like you're being fulfilled and developed and paid fairly, great. But
that's great advice.
If that starts to change, you owe it to yourself. Put your head up and look around. And there's no such thing as disloyalty in that equation.
Yeah, that's good. That's great advice. Hey, Julie, so for those entering the workforce, either re-entering maybe after a break to be with family, or recent college graduates, how much leverage do those entering the workforce now have to kind of negotiate with, hey, I want to work from home a couple days a week. I expect kind of this salary. It seems like there's more leverage for those seeking jobs nowadays.
Yeah. I always say I wish I would have paid better attention in Econ 101 because literally it applies in every aspect of the job market. And that we have fewer people now. The talent pool is smaller, and the talent pool that exists has more options than ever before. And so this leverage that you speak of is real, and it's not going away. Back in the day, you took a job and you hoped to hold on for 40 years. And a lot of the leaders of organizations are still hoping that they can convince people that that's the way to go. but Gen Z especially is having none of it. And so they are very comfortable saying, yeah, I'm going to go do something else. And they can build an app, drive for Uber, do DoorDash, they can walk dogs. I mean, they can cobble together a wage of some sort without having to stay in a job they hate. And that's not something that those of us who are older really had the advantage. Now, if your skills are highly marketable and in demand, you have leverage at any age. If they aren't, or if you're a mediocre performer and your skills are not up to date, you don't have leverage regardless of your age. And so it really has to do with, what are your skills? Are they in demand? Are you a strong performer? And do you have good references to back that up? That's always the source of the best leverage that you want to have.
Julie, I'm hearing more and more about companies trying to force people fully back into the office, but you're talking about the employees having a lot of leverage these days. Is that going to prevent companies from being able to fully bring people back to the office?
Yes, it absolutely is. I mean, the tussle's over. Hybrid work has won, and it's not going back. Every day that passes, more boomers leave the market with the old way. And I'm a boomer, so I always feel like I have authority to say this. More boomers with thinking about the old workplace leave the market, and Gen Z becomes a bigger proportion of the market every day. And so they are not going to do it the way we did. And I say good for them. Now, does hybrid work always work? Does fully remote work always work? Not always. It depends on the function. It depends on your business. And frankly, you as an individual contributor, whether it's a hybrid or remote setup, the obligation is on you to be wildly productive so that you have a case for maintaining that status. So any company, and I always think of Elon Musk, when he started pounding his fist on his desk saying everybody back to work, I know for a fact that a lot of his millennials and Gen Z said, no thanks, and they left and found other opportunities, or other companies came and found them on LinkedIn. So back in the day, it used to work to say, no jeans except Friday, or women have to wear pantyhose, or, all that stuff we followed, but it doesn't work anymore. And it's not going to, because the unemployment rate is still below 4%. And I don't see that changing unless we have such a significant change in our economy and world that we're thrown into just a really, really bad place. But I don't see that changing.
Julie Bauke is the president and chief career strategist at the Bauke Group. You can follow her on Twitter at Julie Bauke. That's Bauke. Julie, thank you so much for jumping on with us.